welcome everyone once again. My name is Bimlesh Gundarao, and I'm the chief evangelist and coach at PitchCamp. And today we have Ankit. Ankit is the founder of two ventures, Call Hippo and Software Suggest. So before I jump into that, I'll just take a minute on PitchCamp. So PitchCamp is an newly formed initiative to help professionals to share their idea with the world better. So we do two initiatives. One, we conduct pitch boot camps, or we help you prepare for a pitch through mock pitch initiatives. We are now partnering with global pitch coaches as well. So we should soon be launching out an open mic platform where you can sign in, come and practice your pitches and get pitch feedback, and which can eventually culminate into pitching in front of investors as well. The second initiative that we do is to come in as chief sales officer and help you to build your sales organization. So which is again a mix of coaching and consulting activities there. So this is essentially what PitchCamp is. We are on a mission to impact about 10,000 entrepreneurs and thereby creating an impact in job creation and employment through your startups and through your organization. So without further ado, welcome Ankit to PitchCamp.
Thank you, Bimlesh.
It's a pleasure. I've been following you, ever since we met up in one of the early SaaS events, I think 3-4 years ago, and been connected on LinkedIn and on the social media. Mm-hmm. And your story has always been fascinating, and glad that we could bring it out on PitchCamp today. So why don't I straight away jump in? So talk to us a little bit about your background. You're not from one of the technology hubs, from the as they say, the quads, right? The Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, and NCR region. So you're from none of these cities. You're from somewhere else. So talk to us about your background, about the city, and how you got started with these two SaaS solutions.
So Bimlesh, interestingly, I am not also a technology guy. So I have studied MBA and done bachelor's of business administration. But I think not being a tech guy and not being from Bangalore or the tech cities of the country actually helped us bootstrap and helped us reach where we are.
Fantastic.
We started in 2014, and then I did not know what an angel investor is. I used to just follow your story. Then it was very popular, and next we co-out, and from there was this thing that we want to start up something, and we did not have much idea as to what venture capital is, what angel investment is, and that was because we were not in one of the tech cities of the country. 2014 we started with Software Suggest, and I learned SaaS in SaaSX where we met. So Avinash has been one of my early mentors, and he pushed me to come to SaaSX too, and that's where we learned, and that's where I saw Girish speaking, and I learned about SaaS as an industry. I found it very interesting, and then we said we need to do something in SaaS. 2017 we started Call Hippo. It's almost 3.5 years now. We are going decently fast in both Software Suggest and Call Hippo. We are about 160-170 team members, completely bootstrapped. The total investment which I made personally was about $15,000 in the company.
Okay.
Yes, and I think we are one of the few bootstrap, fast-growing startups in the country.
Fantastic. So where are you based off? That's the most interesting.
Yes. So right now, I am based out of Ahmedabad, and we have our office currently in Ahmedabad. But as I told you that now we are going to be work from home.
Right.
So the office, a registered office location is Ahmedabad, but it's going to be around the country and around the world now.
Right. Sure. That's the challenge and the opportunity, right? So now talent is completely democratized.
Yeah.
So until now, your 160 team members, of both these initiatives of Software Suggest and Call Hippo, all of them are based out of Ahmedabad.
Before lockdown, they were all based out of Ahmedabad. Now there are few people who are outside Ahmedabad as well. Now we have started hiring people from outside Ahmedabad.
Right. Fantastic. So, talk to us a little bit about the origins of both Software Suggest and Qualipo. How did both of them start? How did you
So,
look at building these solutions out, and your revenue models on these?
so Software Suggest, we faced this issue of software discovery. I personally could not. I personally was finding it difficult to find software. We were initially very India focused at Software Suggest. Just give me a minute. Sorry.
No,
So yeah. So Software Suggest, I was facing this issue of finding a software for my business, and we were initially very India focused in Software Suggest. We were not a global organization. There were a couple of companies like Capterra. Then there was Software Advice, which were competing in the global market, but uh, India was completely virgin. So we thought we'll enter this market. Call Hippo, as I said, I followed Girish and I followed Sridhar Hippo. We wanted to enter a market which is very large. Uh, and I couldn't find a market which was larger than telephony. We also wanted to enter a market which was mature. We did not want to enter a nascent virgin market this time. Telephony is a very large market. It is very mature, and if you are able to innovate in telephony, I mean, you can build a bigger company. You can build a much larger company, and you can get a lot of revenue. And that's what we did with Qualipo.
fantastic. So, talk to me about your initial product development, product market fit, and your first set of customers. What strategies worked? How did you acquire them? Where did they come
Yeah.
from?
Now I'll stick to Qualipo because we are talking about pure SaaS. So we we have been very good in digital marketing, and that was our primary go-to-market strategy. Uh, we started marketing the product, and we started in fact selling the product even before we made the product. I People generally have a launch date. I don't have a launch date. After a certain point, we started assuming our launch date was April 2017. So we started building the product around January 2017, and we were marketing it from September 2016.
Okay.
And we were selling it even before we launched the product. So we made a MVP and we started selling it. So the first customer was friends and family, and I think for every business, the first customer is always friends and family.
Right.
The first customer was a friend from college, and then how we scaled the engine is digital marketing. We have been very good in digital marketing because of our software sales experience. Even today, as we have been talking, as we were talking before this meet started. Even today, we believe that we are very good in digital marketing. We are very good in search engine optimization.
Okay.
Recently, we have started. The first 100 customers were through search engine optimization. Now we are also doing paid campaigns. We are advertising on other platforms, other software discovery platforms like Software Suggest. So we are advertising almost on every other software discovery platform and trying them out. We are advertising on LinkedIn. We are advertising on Facebook. We are advertising on Google, and we are also doing outbound campaigns with email.
Okay. Fantastic. So initially, where was the kind of what type of channels did you evaluate? What channels brought you the maximum leads that you were able to convert later?
So we did never evaluate any channel because of, as I said, because of Software Suggest. So Software Suggest is because of Software Suggest, we had a very good search engine optimization experience. We
Okay.
never thought of any other channel besides search engine optimization. We directly went to search engine optimization,
Hmm.
and
Any specific hacks in SEO that worked well?
SEO is not. I always tell that SEO is not a sprint; it is a marathon. You have to
Right.
keep doing it day in day out for 1.5 years to rank in the top 10 in Google, and then you have to keep running. The day you stop, your rank starts falling. So as a company, we have about 25 to 30% of my team members are digital marketing and search engine optimization team members.
Okay.
So there's no particular one. There's no one hack which is there's no one hack which is there. There are a lot of very small things which we do.
Do you want to share some of the small things
So I
that have worked
mean,
well?
yeah, I think those are already there on the internet. You have to identify keywords. You have to do your keyword research properly. You have to create a lot of content. Uh, I I think the issue is with SEO is not what has to be done, but the issue is who is actually doing it consistently and who is patient enough to wait for results.
Right.
So they are very basic concepts, and Google has made it very difficult to do any mischief around their search engine. Uh, so you have to reduce your page speed, and you have to make sure your content is quality content. You have to make sure your content is good for the readers. It makes sense for whoever is reading it. Those are very basic initial level concept. I mean, you can just do a course on search engine optimization online, and you will know what to do. But you have to do it for 1.5 years, 2 years consistently to get results.
Right. Fantastic. So, so one is doing the traditional, the top 10 things of SEO, and then you branch out into content marketing, and then into SEM. So, at what stage did you choose to go into paid marketing campaigns?
So we went into paid marketing campaign in November 2019. So
Okay, that is pretty recent.
yeah, and it was just an experiment. So we keep experimenting with all platforms. We started in November 2000. I even remember the date. It was 18 November 2019. We started this campaign, and the first one was good and started giving us results. Now we have scaled it a lot. So now Google search and now we are experimenting on other platforms. So the first platform which we tried to conquer was Google, which is happening very good for us. It has been very economical and very nicely ROI generated for us. There are companies which get their investment back in paid channels in 6 to 7 months back. We are doing it in 3 months time. So if I invest a rupee in paid channels today, I will get it back in 3 months time, which is excellent by any standards. Now we have started exploring the other channels like LinkedIn, Facebook,
Okay.
and yes.
Fantastic. So, how much of doing a lot of these things was actually tough or a challenge from doing it from Hyderabad? I mean, from Ahmedabad, and being bootstrapped as well.
No, I don't think anything. I mean, being in Ahmedabad made any difference for us, and I don't think being bootstrap also made any difference for us. So, as I said, when we started Software Suggest, we did not know what being funded was. So, because we thought this is how business is supposed to run. You are supposed to take very small money and then you are supposed to build it. We did not know the Bangalore world, so we never felt it challenging. We thought that's how it is supposed to be. There is of course that founders ups and downs and founders panics were there sometimes where I felt, am I doing things right? Is it going to survive? Will the business shut down? So all those things were of course there, but Ahmedabad or bootstrap did not make much of a difference for us. We have also been very ROI driven, very calculative in the spends, and that did not make much difference. I'll tell you something very interesting. So now we have people who have worked in funded companies. Earlier we could not afford them. But now we have free cash, and we are able to get people who are in funded companies. We have people from Freshdesk. In fact, any top funded companies we can afford people from that, and we have people from Freshdesk in the team, and they tell us that the way we look at numbers, the way we monitor our spends, the way we are very focused on ROI is not something most funded organizations do, and they find this method of bootstrapping also very exciting.
True, very true. When you're bootstrapping, every rupee counts. Right? You take nothing for granted because it's one, either you have generated revenue from your customer sales, or it's your early investment that is still riding on. So the financial structure and the cost prudence is automatically very high.
Right.
In a bootstrapped company. Excellent. So did you face so one, you set up your own call telephony solution. So did you build the solution from in-house IP? You used any open source solution on top of which you built out the solution for a faster go-to market?
No, so the customer interface and everything is ours. We work with a couple of large companies so at the back there is Twilio, which is giving us the telephony. We did not. So we understand we understand what Twilio is doing, and we can do what Twilio is doing to reduce our costs. But our focus is not to reduce costs. Our focus is to increase quality, and give out more things. More features or increase productivity using telephony. So I tell you what happened. Telephony has always been very complex. So there was a lot of innovation which happened in email marketing. A lot of innovation happened in social media marketing, but nothing happened in telephony. And we thought, why not innovate in telephony? Why not make things simpler in telephony? And that's the main key positioning for Calipo.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we do not want to do things which can be outsourced and done by someone else. And we still have this practice of outsourcing and giving it out, working with partners, and not doing things which are not needed to be done.
Right. Interesting. So, you said you started sales and marketing even before your core full product was ready. So,
Right.
During your initial days, talk to us about your thought process on how did you segment and how did you do your targeting of your customers?
So, Bimlesh, I will be very true. I mean, we did not do any segmentation. We have done this segmentation now.
Okay.
We thought telephony was a very flat product and horizontal product, and everyone needed telephony. So we are selling to everyone, which I think I will not say. Now we have gone we have identified the ideal customer profile which we have, and we have gone very specific. But in the initial days, we were just praying, and that worked for us. Luckily, that worked for us.
Okay. So you started with any specific market? You started first in India, or you never looked at India businesses and you went primarily trying to acquire global customers?
We never looked at India. US was our primary market. When we started, we went directly for US. That the geography was US, but the other things like industry, size of company, those were not something which we gave a thought to. But because again it is telephony, we have now realized that even though we market ourselves for the US market, we have about 40% customers from US, and then 60% is from rest of the world. We never tried to target India, but about 15% of our customers are from India, because India has a lot of call centers.
Correct.
So even if you want to avoid India, we cannot avoid India as such.
Yeah, there are a lot of Indian businesses who do business for US as
Correct.
well. Right?
Correct. Even if they are not, even if it is not call center as such, a lot of tech companies are based out of India who are selling to the global market, and they sit in India. They sell to the US market, and that's where they need Calipo.
Right. Interesting. So majority of your sales has been through inbound lead generation. Is that a fair way to say?
Until now, everything has been. Yeah, until now everything has been through inbound lead generation. We started with outbound about 1 month back.
So how much of your platform has a difference between completely do-it-yourself self-service versus an assisted buy, where customers go through a demo and then they make a buy decision?
So everything is do-it-yourself for us. As the organization has been growing, we have started hand-holding a lot more, and we feel it works. So I think by until December, almost everything, 99% was do-it-yourself, where we will just answer a few questions on chat, and the person is supposed to go and buy it. Now about 60 to 70% of our business is hand-holding, where we hand-hold and we will tell them how to do it. And that has actually helped in building relationship with the customer, understanding if the customer is in our ICP. we have started telling no to customers who are not in our ICP. So if someone comes and they are not, they don't fit our ideal customer profile, we'll tell them no. And the entire objective of handholding is to understand what the customer really requires and get them started with the product.
Nice. If I may, can you talk to us a little bit about your current ICP and what type of customers you reject?
So as I said, telephony is very big. There is a company at the bottom is Google Voice, and then there is Skype, where you can get global US phone numbers for like $2, $3, $5.
Right.
That's at the bottom, and then at the top there is a company called TalkDesk, which I think is a $1 billion organization now, and they do complete analytics as to what who is calling, why calling, and they focus on productivity of call center teams and teams which make calls, sales and support teams which make calls. At the outset when we started Qualipo, we were competing against Skype. We thought we will replace Skype and we will become the number one phone number provider. But now we don't find that market very interesting. Now we have repositioned ourselves as a virtual phone system.
Okay.
We have repositioned ourselves as an easy to use virtual phone system with world class support. Now we are building features which help call center teams, sales teams increase their productivity. We are supporting call centers and sales teams which are upward of 100 team members now. And 6 months back, we did not have large organizations like this or mid-sized organizations like this. So that's the change which we made.
Okay, fantastic. So that's your segmentation of a mid-size customer and a large-size customer.
Yeah. So they are not large size. Actually, they are not large size, but that's 100 team members is what 100 to 500 team members is what we are focusing on now.
Right. Fantastic. So for most of these customers, you would do an assisted buying process, whereas less than a customer coming for a requirement of less than 100 users, they would typically move into a self-service or a do-it-yourself mode. Is that a fair understanding?
No, we do assisted buying for everyone.
Okay.
We don't take anyone who is less than 3 users. So if you have less than 3 users, or we don't think that you can scale, we'll suggest you other platforms which are our competitors and take less than 3 users. But we do assisted buying for everyone.
Okay.
Our sweet spot is 100 to 500 team members.
Right. Fantastic. Amazing. So who are some of the competitors you commonly come across? One in the SEO world. I'm leading this question into another question.
Okay.
Right. So one in your SEO world, and second, when you're getting into the assisted buying process, you're obviously in conversation with the customer.
Right.
And customers when you're in conversation with a customer, typically your competitors conversation come in either from a price or from a feature or from a support point. So talk to us a little bit about your competitive landscape and how have you been able to beat competition in this process.
So because it is about Bootstrap and you have named it how we competed against Bob. So there's a company. So I told you about TalkDesk. TalkDesk I think has more than $100 million of funding with them, which is our primary competitor. And there is a company called Aircall, which again has I think more than $50 million of funding. We never. I don't know the exact number. We never look at what funding they have. We don't worry about that. Then the third company which we compete against is RingCentral, which is a funded listed organization in the US. I think they have about $600 million of revenue with them. These are the top 3 companies which we are funding, which we are fighting with in the US, in the global market. There's a company called Avoxy, which is also very popular in the global market. That is also around a 15 to 20 years old company. With respect to search engine optimization, we almost rank better than everyone else overall. So there might be certain keywords where a RingCentral might be ranking better than us, or a call might be ranking better than us. But if you look at overall organic traffic of these organizations, I think we are on the top.
Fantastic. So what do you see from an objection handling, or when somebody when a customer is asking you against your competitors, right? So what are some of your strengths that you're able to communicate?
So the fact that we are able to handhold and we are able to help them with telephony. So as I told, telephony, most of these uh, systems, I will not particularly name any one of them, but most of these systems are very complex to use.
Okay.
Compared to that, Calipo has been very. So we have had a design focus, and we wanted to make it really simple, really intuitive, and really easy to understand. That is one thing which helps us. Second thing is when we are hand holding them, we are taking care of them, and we are explaining them the product well. Is the other thing which helps us. We have also added onboarding as a part of the product where we onboard large customers, and we go take them through a step-by-step adaptation process where we help them adopt the product completely. And I think these are the things which actually help us. We have a amazing conversion rate. From sign-ups to sales is about 30% conversion is something which we have, which is an investor's dream to do a 30% sign-ups to sales conversion.
Absolutely. Yeah, most of them are between 15 to 20.
No, it's not between 15 to 20, Bimlesh. It is about 3, 4, 5%.
Okay.
That's the maximum people go up to.
That's
20% is, so if you look around on Quora, and then they will say that 20% is the investor's deal. If you are doing a 20% conversion rate, then you are in the best companies of the investor. We do 30%.
I have known few companies, who have seen a success in 15 to 20% with very strong, digital marketing, focus where the primary channel is inbound, and where the decision making is also faster. So conversion, that also makes a big difference.
Right. So it's not just search engine optimization which is giving us this conversion. We also do a lot of brand building, brand positioning. So search engine optimization can only get traffic to the website.
Correct.
There's a lot of optimization, brand building, pitches, features which will help us convert. So all those things are also done to get our conversion rate higher.
If you are to increase your conversion rates right now, and with now COVID is now bringing an amazing opportunity from leveler, from leveling a lot of businesses, a lot of opportunities. Right? So, what is your view on where do you see your growth from here?
If you are talking about Qualipo's growth, I mean, last month we could grow about 18% month on month. I think on an average we are growing about 7-8% over the quarters. Last month was exceptional. I think we should be able to do around 7-8% month on month for the next 1 year. So we are positioned for that. The other question which you asked was how to increase conversion rate. So I don't know about how you do that inside your own app. That I am not very sure about because I have not seen that app. But right now we are trying localized. So there's something called as personalization where the website will be personalized for your particular experience. So if someone is coming in UK, we will show them logos and brands of UK. Our customers of UK using it. That which is something which we are trying currently, and then we are also doing A/B testing of our pages, which has helped us immensely.
We spoke about in the backstage about the SEO from an SEM perspective. You just started SEM and you're competing with some of the the larger companies who are able to spend more on that. So a couple of months ago you had also written a small post or a Facebook post. I don't remember specifically on that. But you had written about how a large competitor and you are ranking on this space. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So as I said, I mean, it's not SEO is not that difficult. I mean, I did not know anything about SEO in 2014. So I made Software Suggest. We made the Software Suggest website, and I remember in May or June 2014, I called a friend up and I told him that what is Google Analytics, and he told me just try and do this and install Google Analytics. I installed Google Analytics, I could see what was the traffic on my website. So before 6 months into launching the product, we did not even know what Google Analytics was. We installed Google Analytics. We could see what the traffic was, and then 3 months after that, I called the same friend up, and I told him, "You told me about Google Analytics, but I don't see any traffic coming to my website." Now this guy is that, have you actually done search engine optimization? And I said, I don't know what search engine optimization is. I took like 2 days. I studied everything on search engine optimization on the internet, and that's how our search engine optimization journey actually started. And in 2 days we could learn everything about search engine optimization. We started experimenting, and we started thinking what is good for the user, whoever is what is good for people who are coming to our website. And that's how we started our journey. We started learning more, and there are always blogs, and we started ranking. When we started doing all those very small things, and started doing all the optimization, eventually we started ranking on top on Google, and then the confidence increases, and we continue doing it. So it's not rocket science. I tell everyone that it is not rocket science. It is very easy to do. You only need to have consistency and keep doing it day in, day out. That's how we are ranking against our competitors. And we search a keyword, and we will be in top 5 in most keywords.
So do you use Google keywords? You use Google Search Console, Google Trends, or you use Uber Suggest from Neil Patel? What are some of your tool stack?
So, Search Console, I think everyone uses Search Console, and you are supposed to use that Webmaster Tool Search Console. And I specifically don't do search engine optimization, so I don't know what exactly it is. One tool, if I can mention about, is OnPageChamp, which I have also invested in. It helps keeps track of what we have done, whatever changes we have done in our page on page. Maybe you guys can go and try it and see what it is that what is there in it.
No, what's the name of the company?
OnPageChamp.
OnPageChamp. Okay.
Yes.
How did you decide to go to market knowing Twilio was already offering the services, and you were also going to use it in backend? What was your IP when you decided to take on Twilio when you were going to use it yourself?
So, hi Prashant. So we don't believe that. I am very fine having Twilio in the product, at the same time competing against Twilio. I don't think there is anything. I don't think you cannot partner with your competitors. I think it is perfectly fine to partner with your competitors. You can partner on one particular area with your competitors. You can compete with them in one particular area. So I'm always very fine with that. So as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, that we also do a lot of so we do a lot of partnership. We think whatever can be done outside should be done outside. We should not be doing it right now. We are working with about 2 to 3 companies where we use their technology in Callipo or Software Suggest. We partner with them. At the same time, we tell them that you can also compete with us. There's nothing wrong in competing with us. So I have always been very fine with partnering and competing at the same time.
Talk to us about some of your customer success initiatives. So what are some of your strategies that have worked? One is on your conversion activities, and how have you been able to reduce churn? Even when renewals come up, right? That's also a big focus area for SaaS companies, to ensure that they are able to reduce churn, keep the customers on their platform rather than moving.
Yeah. So the reason, so I told you that we moved from the ICP of Skype to TalkDesk and the particular ICP. That was because we were having a lot of churn. The very small customers were actually churning out a lot. Their business will shut down, or they were just experimenting with Callipo for some days. Their entire team shuts down. That is when we decided that we need to change our ICP. So the first step in reducing churn and controlling churn was to change our ICP. The second thing which we have done is we have hired people in customer success. We did not have a customer success team. So if I tell you that in December we had 2 team members in support and success together. I am not sure how many team members we have now, but I believe there are more than 20 plus in support and customer success. The entire support success team was about 10 team members in December. Out of
Okay.
them, 8 were in assisted sales and 2 were in support. Now that has gone to about 35 team members. So from 10 we have gone to about 35 team members. The sales team members have not increased that much. It is more success and support team which has increased. We recently took HubSpot. We onboarded with HubSpot and we started using HubSpot sales platform. And when I was onboarding with HubSpot, HubSpot told us that they have more customer success people in the company than sales guys in HubSpot. And
Right.
that's when I went and told my team that boss, I want to. So we always look at becoming HubSpot. So we have this that we want to become HubSpot. And that's when I told my team that boss, if HubSpot has more customer success people than sales people, we should also have more customer success people than sales people. And that's when we started, and it has helped us a lot. Uh, I think we have reduced our churn to about 12%. So we are at about 12 to 18% annual, which,
Okay.
which which is for SMB, which is actually very good. It's supposed to be around 3 to 5% churn in SMBs is accepted. We are doing about 12 to 18% now. So one thing which helped us a lot, Binglesh, I mean, you were talking about being a bootstrap company. So being a bootstrap company actually helped us a lot in Corona. I mean, we were always very number driven, number focused. I mean, we know which team member is. So we are not we don't try to map out your day. We don't try to be behind your back, but we are very OKR driven. So at the end of the month, what have you delivered and how did you contribute to the growth of the organization, and certain things which have we kept asking our team members in the last 6 years. Now that has actually helped us in Corona. Because of that, we could grow about. We are still able to grow about 8 to 10% month on month. Uh, every team member knows what their objective is, what they have to deliver, what are the numbers they have to deliver, and so that helped us a lot. And
Fantastic.
in fact, being bootstrap actually helped us create a better organization and a more stronger organization than what we could have done with funds in our pocket.
Interesting. Very interesting viewpoint. Since you brought up OKRs, I have a question that will come up. Question from Suresh Warrior. What are the next steps for Call Hippo? Where do you see yourself going from here?
Okay. Next step for Call Hippo, we are just trying to grow. I mean, we are trying to double our revenue by the end of March 2021. Yes, we should be able to double our revenue by the end of March 2021. We are adding one more product, which is part of telephony. By January 21, we want to add another product which is part of telephony. As I said, as I told Bimlesh that we want to go the HubSpot way. We look at HubSpot as a multi-product company in the same audience. That's what we are trying to do.
Next question is from Nandish. You mentioned prominent role of design in Call Hippo journey. Can you share a little more about it?
Okay, so Nandish, when we started Call Hippo, there are still about 5,000 plus companies in this space, and I think, and from my software success journey, I understand that people actually don't try software. They just look at software and decide if they want to buy it or not. It is technically not possible for anyone to try a software end to end in 15 minutes time. So if you look at AirMeet, it has a beautiful design and it's neat, it's clean. The UI UX looks very clean. When it comes to software purchases, SMBs are only looking at software and deciding if they want to buy it. They only try and confirm their decision by seeing if the functionalities work. And I had this, because of software success journey, I had this realization, and that's why we said that we will make the software aesthetically beautiful. Once someone logs in, they should feel that it is intuitive, it is easy to use, it is neat, it is clean. We have not used templates for Call Hippo design. We have done everything on our own. We have used correct color palettes, and we have used proper process to make the design. And I think that is the primary reason for the 30% conversion rate which I'm talking about. Hope it answers his question.
Next question is on OKR tracking. What tools are used for OKR?
So we use this software called Keka. Keka is also used as our attendance management and salary processing, payroll, HRMS, and everything. What I particularly like about Keka, the founder Vijay of Keka is also a friend, and Keka is in fact one of the fastest growing HR software companies in the country. It's very flexible when it comes to OKR. So it gives us a lot of independence, and we can build our own process when it comes to OKR. That is what we like about Keka.
So talk to us about how have you structured your OKRs, especially for your sales conversion team.
So sales conversion team OKR is pretty easy. I mean, they have to deliver growth. We have a business plan in place where we want to reach after the at the end of the year. And the sales team is supposed to meet that. I have a head of sales, head of growth who takes care of sales, success, support, these three functions, and the head of growth is supposed to deliver his numbers. So that is pretty easy. OKRs are, and then everyone takes so we have a rule of 3 to 5 OKRs. Minimum you take 3, maximum you take 5. You don't take more than 5. OKRs are defined quarterly. So one of the OKRs is of course numbers which you have to achieve, and the rest 2 or 3 are other things which you think can help in growing the organization. To give you an example, the organization's OKRs for last quarter, which went April, May, June, has been to enable outbound prospecting, and so that is one OKR which we had, and we have been recently successful in doing that. OKRs are very handy. I mean, if you don't have it in your organization, you should get it up running. It gives direction to the team in which direction they have to work.
At what stage did you implement OKRs?
So we started implementing OKRs in January. It has recently become popular. OKRs has become
2020.
2020. We started implementing. This is the first quarter where I've actually seen how effective OKRs can be. There's a lot of talk about OKRs in the last 1 year.
Right.
So we adopted, and we wanted to adopt it for the last. We have been trying to adopt it for the last 1 year, but we actually started up with it only in January 2020.
So how was from a people adoption perspective? Was a big shift you see from the previous way of doing goal setting and tracking versus how OKRs is making that shift?
We did not have very specific tracking for all team members. I mean, so the sales team member, it is very easy to get traction, get revenue numbers. But and for every team member, we had some numbers which was there, but there was no 100% tracking. And OKRs is not. I'll also say that OKR is not for tracking your targets and your productivity.
Correct.
OKR actually helps
for alignment. Yeah,
it's for alignment. It helps give a direction as to what has to be delivered. So every quarter I will also take my OKR. In fact, I was doing my OKRs today, and I will diligently tell my top team leaders where I have personally reached on my OKR, and today I was doing my OKR. So it helps me give direction as to at the end of the next quarter. If I take 3 to 4 OKRs, I have to deliver on those 4 OKRs personally, and I have to tell my team members that this is my progress on those 4 OKRs. So it gives us direction as to what are the things we want to work on and what are the things we don't want to work on. I feel that the impact has been amazing.
Thank you, Ankit. Any parting thoughts before we get into social lounge and open up for networking?
Nothing. It was nice talking to you. So I usually avoid such discussion, but I got a message from you and I said, okay, fine, we'll do it. So it has been nice talking to you, and I liked it. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much once again for coming on.
Thank you guys.